Hey, it's Kevin. Thank you so much for coming by for the No BS social media chat. We've touched on this topic, I'd bet 20, 30 times over the course of the last 3 years with the No BS updates, but we've never devoted an entire chat to personal branding. It's a term my wife just totally hates, but it's something that I've been fascinated with for a long time, especially coming from the media, especially coming from a radio background, where I realize that each and every personality has to have their own personal stamp. And maybe brand is the word that so many people get hung up on. It's as good a word as any, but you need to build, well, your own personality bank. I think the political process in the most recent election showed us that Donald Trump took Hillary Clinton's brand and made it Crooked Hillary. She didn't do enough to combat the non-crooked Hillary, and that may have helped her lose the election. Donald Trump built his political brand thinking, again, here's a man who's a successful businessman, but had never held an elected office in his life. And the first one he goes for is the top office in the land, if not the world, the presidency of the U.S. He built his brand on Make America Great Again, branding change. You know, Obama built his political brand on hope. Remember those old posters going back 8 years? And I think everybody, no matter what you do, no matter if you're in the media, no matter if you're a recording artist, no matter if you're a banker, no matter if you're a hardware store owner, you run a charity, what is your personal brand? What do people look to you in your industry to be some sort of authority figure on, to look to you even just for your interests? I'll give you an example. When I was in radio, my personal brand was I was the NASCAR guy. At any radio station I worked at, I knew more about NASCAR than most people on staff, so I was always the go-to NASCAR guy. Now, what's funny is having grown up all across the U.S. and not grown up on country music, I made my brand in country music, finding something I could have a common bond with the listeners with. I didn't share a lot of experiences. I don't like hunting and fishing. I'm not really a handyman kind of guy. I'm not about do-it-yourself projects kind of thing. I'm not a woodworking kind of guy. So I had to find something that the country music audience, the country music life group, could get behind. And for me, that was the NASCAR guy. Sure, I like sports, but again, my sports teams weren't necessarily their sports teams. After spending a decade in Northeast Ohio, while I followed the Browns and I followed the Indians and the Cavaliers, they were never my favorite team. So I had to find a way to build a brand. I've built a brand personally over the years as being the guy who can tell you whatever today is, national whatever day it is, and that goes back to an old radio thing. So I understood about building my personal brand. I was not on the air a lot over the years. It was never my main function for the most part. So sometimes I was only on the air 2 hours a day. So when you're on the air 2 hours a day, you don't have a full shift to be able to get people to know who you were, and you wanted them to know you. So I made sure to build my brand around that. I made sure to build my brand around the guy who knew everything local, whether I was from there or not. And I think we can do that when it comes to whatever we're doing in life. Because as I said, and I've talked about this before, in the old days, if you're looking for an accountant, if you're looking for a hardware store, if you're looking for a guy who'd cut a piece of glass, you'd go to the Yellow Pages. I don't even have a Yellow Pages in my house or in my office anymore and haven't had one for years. So what do? I go to Google and I'll type in glass cutter, Nashville. When I was moving recently, I was looking for people to do carpet cleaning, and I was looking for people to do some home repair, some minor touch-ups and things like that I couldn't do. So sure, there are things like Angie's List, there are Yelp, but I also went through Google and said, okay, where else can I find these people? And that's how I found everybody. And I didn't necessarily go for the first one all the time, the one with the biggest ad or whatever it was. I looked for one that, met all my needs, that was fairly close by, that looked fairly reputable, that had good reviews, things like that. I was looking for somebody who built their personal brand for whatever they were doing. And I think that's important no matter what we do. If you're a banker, being the banking guy, being a guy who, even if you're on Facebook, just talking with your friends saying, hey, here's something that's going on right now in the stocks and bonds world that you may need to be aware of. Again, people, if they're not interested, are just going to ignore it. But it's like, man, it's not the only thing you talk about, but it's good to know that my banker knows what's going on. It's good to know when I see my accountant post some things online about new tax rules and things like that, or some things I need to consider. It's like, ooh, good point. But I also see my accountant out when he's doing his hobbies, when he travels to Europe, when he goes out hiking and things like that, his personal interest. I get to know him. So again, I have something to talk about when we get together, and he has something to talk about with me. That personal brand is so very important. And I think it's going to become more and more important in what they're now calling the gig economy, where everybody's an independent contractor, where everybody's working for themselves. A lot of millennials are starting to understand this and working at it. I don't know if they're doing a good job of it yet. That remains to be seen. But what can you do to build your persona, to build your brand on social media with everybody you come in contact with? Think about it if you're a recording artist. Think about it if you're in the media. These should be no-brainers. These should be the things you need to be working at every day. But everybody else needs to be working at it too, and I think it's going to pay off for you. We'll talk more about personal branding in another upcoming episode. But again, I just wanted to plant that seed in the back of your mind, and with the election just upon us, a good time to talk about it. Back next week with another No BS social media chat. NoBSSocial.com is our website. You can also find us on Facebook, find us on YouTube. Again, I'm not going to give you those links. Just wherever you found us this week, come on back again next week and we'll be here. If you want to talk to me personally, I would love to connect, whether it's through social media or whether it's even by email or phone number, or by phone number. My email and phone number are coming up here at the end of the video. Thanks so much and have a great week.